One of the best ways to boost profit is with books, but many of you have made these books. What about anthologies? What's up, FlowChat fam and Sales Center? Chris here with the spotlight, and we have a fellow FlowChat fam member that's here. She is getting real results for real people. She's on the front line. She's been doing multiple campaigns as it pertains to books. In fact, selfish plug here for who you're about to meet, because she helped market this, publish this, put this all together, provided some therapy along the writing process on how to actually do it. You know why? Because it's like, oh, I got to sit and I got to write. It's like, wait, but I got a million other things to do. And should I really do a book right now? So I got to be a part of a book that she helped put together. And you're going to hear why this became a bestseller in 9 different categories in like the first day. Might have been at the first couple hours. And the difference between a book and an anthology. So you're going to want to stick around. You're going to want to listen to all this, because this is huge credibility. It's a huge authority framework. And this, honestly, the time that you spend sitting down and thinking and writing frameworks it'll bring alignment to your focus, your vision, your mission, and what you're doing. So the return, yes, from the actual campaigns are fantastic, but in addition, the focus and clarity that it makes you, the discipline of it will also generate huge returns. And that's why we have Jamie to walk us through all of this today. Jamie, how's it going?
It's going, and I'm all done now because you just said everything. So good. Thanks very much. Great to see you.
All right. Thank you for watching on the Spotlight series. Yeah. So we get to get into this different. The first thing that I would love everyone to know about Jamie, she's the kindest person. She's awesome at listening. She'll never tell you how great she really is, but that's why I'm here today, is I get to brag about you in front of everyone. And obviously, we've got to work together and created a great result and had a great experience. But everyone listening, the first thing I would like them to hear is, Jamie, I want to do a book, but I'm just not ready yet. It's just not the right time. What would you say to that?
False. I'm not going to let you off the hook. That is absolutely not a true statement. I will clarify that the people that I work with to do books are entrepreneurs who do have an offer. Now, maybe your offer isn't 1,000% polished yet. As Chris said, this will bring you the clarity. So now is absolutely the best time to write a book. And in fact, I was chatting with Chris a little bit before. One of the things that I had heard a little bit too often, I was like, okay, I'm over this. We're not going to take this excuse anymore, is that I do want a book. I absolutely have a story to share, but I want to get my offer done first, because we need to make some money. However, when I would go back 3, 4, 5 months later and go, so how did that 90 days of getting your thing launched go? Oh, well, it's like so much, harder, taking longer. I'm not done yet. I still have to tweak this and do that. Minimum viable product, writing a book, or even just writing a chapter in a book, really forces you to be very clear. And even if you don't like to write, we can help you with questions so that you can record, and we can take those transcripts and turn those into words. And then you're looking at it on the page and going, oh, this is it. This is exactly what I meant to say. This is who I serve. This is how I serve them. This is the result that they're going to get. And now it's crafted into the least amount of words. Our editors clean things up. And so now you've got that really clear focus and vision. So it's almost a little bit of a discipline to go ahead and write, especially when so many of us these days talk. We record video, we're on YouTube, we're in Clubhouse, we're doing podcasts, we're doing virtual summits, we're talking. But the actual writing, except for a few of us people who just love to write and will write way too much all the time. But even that's great, because editors come in and clean it up and make it very concise. So for people who don't write frequently anymore, this is an awesome exercise to really take you to the level that you can see for yourself. You're on the way. This will just shorten the time frame.
And a part of the story, so in this discipline of sitting down and focusing, and it forced me to do just that, and it ended up being a story that I continued to share in multiple interviews and multiple other podcasts and shows and content driven material, even in trainings. And so drawing some parallels that just helps everyone connect to our work, because business is just a systematic way of delivering a product or service. But the art is in the experience that's created, and the human element and how it's connected. And that's what separates us in the marketplace. And oftentimes, a book encapsulates all that. Now, if you're someone that's just the sitting down and reading, I just never sit down and read. It's not how I consume information. And now I got to sit down and like just write. You had a really helpful tip with me regarding audio. Can you share that with everyone?
Yes. So there's certainly lots of different audio systems and apps and things out there. It's really easy just to record on your phone. So if you have small children at home and you tend to get up before they do, so you have a little bit of quiet time, if you're out for a walk, if you're walking the dog, if you just want to go sit in your car, if that is your spot to sort of hide from other people periodically. And if we provide a framework, either for the chapter or the whole book, if you're doing a whole book, one thing that you can think of it in terms of, if you're offering a digital course or a mastermind, what is the one great big result that you promise people? It's the pain that you solve, the solution that you offer, the thing that they're really trying to get to. If that's the one thing that you offer your audience, that is the theme, overarching theme of the book. But you can't just go from here to there. So you need to take little steps along the way. When you're taking one small step and having a small success, now your confidence is building a little bit. So that's the journey that you're taking your audience or your prospect through. You can break down that journey into 8 steps or 10 steps or 12 steps, so that you've got your 90-day mastermind or your 8-week course or whatever. If you have, my dog has just come over to say hi, of course. If you clarify what it is that you're doing, we can give you the framework to talk through. So I can say, okay, Chris, what is the first step that they have to do? Could you put it in context? Give me a little bit of backstory of why this step is important. Why should they believe that this is the first step that they need to do based on your learned or earned experience? Okay, so if they do this step, where are they going to get to? A little bit of future casting of how they're going to feel or be able to do something more efficiently or more confidently or comfortably or with more joy going forward. Give me a little bit of training about that. And then, do you have an example of a success story or a case study? Great. You just did a chapter or a week in your course or things of that sort. So that's clarifying. But if you are not the person who is going to be able to write this out, if you would rather go to the dentist than sit down and write those things out, we will ask you the questions. And then you just pick up your phone. Just pick up your phone and you start talking and you just answer it and you're done. Transcribe and we take care of the rest.
That part was really helpful. So I definitely went on a walk and started talking my stories. And what I think one takeaway for me was, my book's actually already written. And in my specific case, I just had a chapter that I was writing. It's 5,000 words. But after doing that chapter, I was like, whoa, I actually have a lot more to say than I thought. And the book is already written. Now, there's more books that I probably have at least 3 books in me. But the timing of when you do it and how you do it, all that matters. So that was a big breakthrough for me. I was like, whoa, the book is already written. Now I can just kind of talk through it. Now, for me, I ended up having that transcribed, and then I read it and I was like, oh, I know what I'm trying to say, but this is not as clear as I thought it was. So having your editing team help with that piece was really helpful. You're like, well, I hear what you're saying. I feel you on that, Chris, but here's how everyone else is going to be able to hear what you want to say. You're like, oh, okay. So, having someone with the experience is a huge deal. So message sent, message received. It's so frustrating when you're like, why isn't anyone listening? And why don't they see what I see? It's because they're not hearing or reading what you are hearing or reading. And clearing that gap is oftentimes the breakthrough moment where understanding sets and profits increase. So hey, we're talking about a couple things here in terms of writing the book, but what's the difference between a book and an anthology?
That's a super good question. Strategy, really. So a lot of people come to me and say, other people have told me I should write a book, or the classic, I've always had a book inside me, or I had this really horrible thing happen. I got through. I want to share that so other people don't have to go through pain for so long. Those are all great points. I strongly recommend that is not the book that you start with, because as an entrepreneur and a business person, what you want to start with is the most strategic, consumable, important to someone else as far as what result they will get, from the information that you know. Write that first and then go back and write the cathartic exercise or the stories, long-term stories that you want to share. And that's great. What an anthology does is it lets you partner with other entrepreneurs. So if you have an audience of 1,000 people, whether that's, part your email list or part your Instagram or your Clubhouse or your TikTok or, all of these other social platforms. If you've got an audience of 1,000 and I have an audience of 1,000 and, Susan has an audience of 1,000. Now, when you write an anthology with the two of us, instead of your words and your offer and your inspiration and your stories just going to your audience, they will go to all three simultaneously. You just tripled your audience with absolutely zero extra work or effort. And I'm going to edify you. I'm going to tell everyone what a good guy you are, what a great heart you have, how genuine you are, how much integrity you have. And most importantly, from an entrepreneurship space, the thing that you offer will make their business just be on fire. And it will solve so many of the problems that they're probably having in their business with lead generation and, customer acquisition and all those things. And so if I do that for you and you do that for me, much like you're doing right this minute, that means that audience is instantaneously a warm audience. So a really big benefit of being an anthology is you're exponentially increasing your audience reach and you're making it a warm audience without any extra effort, any extra ad spend. Now, let's say that nobody knows Jamie and everybody knows Chris, and you agree to be in a book with me. Suddenly, I'm elevated because I'm in a book with Chris, and everybody knows Chris and what he's accomplished. And suddenly, they're going to look at me a little bit differently, like, oh, you're sharing that stage? Now, it's a book stage. It's not a summit stage or a real stage, but it's like sharing a stage with someone. So suddenly I am raised in the eyes of other people if they see me working with someone whose name, has better recognition than my own. Conversely, if you're the person who's like a Myron Golden, who is already incredibly well known and super accomplished, and he says, you know what, I'd like to give back. I would like to put my name on a work and go ahead and join a project, even though I don't need those people who are a little bit further behind than I am. Let me do this and edify them and raise them up. So an anthology accomplishes a lot of different things, not the least of which is you don't have to write an entire book. You only have to write a chapter. So if you're busy running your business and you're in a hurry and you got a lot going on and you just don't quite have the time to think through an entire book, no worries, do a chapter. I will say also the most successful people I have seen as authors and speakers, because if you're going to speak anywhere, it's great to have a book. They recognize that a book is an evergreen marketing tool. It's also a great way to build relationships because you're telling your story. So people reading who've never heard of you read your story and go, I like this guy. I like how he interacts with his child. That's how I want to interact with my children. Okay, so whatever he's got, I'm going to pay more attention because I already trust him a little because I've read his story. When you participate in more than one anthology, when you write more than one book, like Kiana Danielle launched a book at Funnel Hacking Live. That was her 5th or 6th book. She's got a couple more coming out. She didn't, like, my favorite example is Jack Canfield. Where would the world be if Jack Canfield wrote a book and stopped and said, nope, I've done one, I'm done. Like, he has sold 500 million books because he wrote a lot of single authored books and he participated in many, many, many multiple authored books, which is what I mean by anthology, more than one author in a book.
Yes, and so that was something that I wanted. Thank you for sharing that, and very well put. Because in the project we got to do together, I've never heard of that before. But there's all these other authors, including myself in this, that I got to meet and we got to chat and just interact with and learn or refer each other. It was a really cool experience. It's a really great exercise to grow business, to grow in your entrepreneurial journey. And the audience piece that you're mentioning is really valuable and really important too. So that's the difference between Anthology and just a book. Both great, both different strategies. How did you get in? How did you get into publishing?
I wrote a book, and I wrote a book because people were asking me. So I used to work in economic development, and I specifically was tasked with building entrepreneurship. So high-tech companies that needed to scale quickly, that needed outside investors. And so partly it was educating outside investors of how to work with, come and be a board member, or how to understand due diligence or valuation or things of that sort. So you had one group of people with one interest over here, the investors, and then the other group of people, the startup company people who wanted the money so they could go make their widget, and they wanted to go fast and grow big. I'm sorry for the background. And
Oh, it's all good.
I
As
live
long
in
as
this
you're
teeny,
okay, and
teeny
hopefully everyone else is.
I live in
Yeah.
a very, very, very small town, but I just happen to sit between the two siren makers. And so only when I'm on Zoom do they drive past my house.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
funny. There's like probably 3 people in this whole town, but
Your
they go
neighbors
by
are
when I'm
calling
on
you
Zoom.
in. They're like,
Yes.
"Oh, I think she's on Zoom." All right, sound the alarm.
That's right. That's right. Let's go. What was I talking about? Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. I was telling a story about something, and it's just
You were. It was a
gone.
good one.
It's so
The
gone. It
sirens
was
got
a
me
good
too.
one. Can't have been that important because it's just gone. I'm so sorry.
You know what I'm surprised by? I'm surprised that I can't remember it either. uh, no worries. We were just talking about the difference.
Well, go back and listen and go, oh my God, now I know what I should have continued saying.
That's what it was. Yeah, no, just the difference between
Really funny.
anthologies and books and where you started in
Oh, yes, where
your
I
journey. You
started. No
published a
wonder I
book
forgot.
and
So yes, working with entrepreneurs and investors, and they ask the same questions all over again. So like, I've got a solution. I'm just going to put it in a book, and every time everybody asks me the same darn question over again, kind of like a frequently asked question thing, but put it in book form. And that was when I understood, oh, writing and publishing a book versus marketing and selling a book are 2 completely different things. And I have no idea what marketing and sales of books is all about back then when I first started over a decade ago. And so as I kept going, people would say, oh, you know how to write? Could you help me? And I was like, oh God, writing is easy. No, it is for me. It is the thing that I do. Sales is easy for you. Writing was easy for me, but that doesn't mean it's the opposite is true. Although I'm much better at sales thanks to you now. And then
closing deals now.
yeah. And then publishing. Oh, you know how to publish. Can you help me publish? And it's like, oh, for gosh sakes, just go look on Amazon and KDP. It walks you through it. You can do it. The thing is, we need to stay in our lanes, right? The thing that we do all day
But
that we're
Jamie,
really
that's
good at.
reading and thinking and messing it up, and then I do this, and then maybe I feel good about it, maybe I don't. Versus just no, you do this, and here's how it works, and then here's what you can expect from it, and you're like, oh, thank you.
Right.
To your point, staying in
Exactly.
lanes.
Exactly. So, and then the third part was the marketing. Can you market this? And again, I resisted a little bit when people would ask me for that. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, how stupid are you? You are constantly telling other people to listen to what the market demand is. You don't sell what you want to sell. You sell what the market wants. And the market is busy telling me what they want. They want help with writing, publishing, and marketing a book. And now I've added in the fact of, oh, they also really want help getting a course done quickly so that they monetize very quickly, because writing a book, you don't monetize through book sales. I joke, unless you're writing about zombies or vampires, you don't monetize by selling lots and lots of books. You monetize by the offer that you have in your book, the solution that you solve. And that's why I work with entrepreneurs with offers, because much like Dan Henry did, he took a book to USA Today, Wall Street Journal bestseller, and within a week, he'd 5x his return. What he invested to get that book done, he brought back, and his sales, went up 5 times from what they'd been the week previously, because suddenly there's so many eyeballs looking at it and they're getting to know, like, and trust him. He has addressed all the objections that he used to get on a sales call. It's all explained in the book. So now his conversations are closing conversations. They're not starting at the beginning because people have that information in the book.
I hope that everyone is catching all the things that you're saying right now. If you're currently watching this as a business owner, sales, marketing professional, and you're wondering, will it work? If you're having sales conversations and they're converting, of course a book will work, because what Jamie is sharing is take the objections that you get and you answer day in and day out and day in and day out and put it in a book and let people hear that, think about it, experience it, and have that resolve. Let them have those epiphanies that you're saying every single day. And part of that, part of that is hitting me because I was doing that. And I got to put some of my stories in here that are addressing sales, that are addressing, we have inbound and outbound sales, but everyone gets a little scared by outbound. But if you know all the secrets in Jamie's book that she published, one of them, look up all of them. And then the new one, we need to cover the new one that you just came out, that the Project Crush too. But in this, I'm addressing those fears through the story of my boys starting their business. And I get to talk about business from the eyes of a 3 and a 4-year-old. And it's turns out that there's a couple good hooks in there. So to let people have those epiphanies. So as you're saying, people, this is leverage where it's not your time, but people can start warming up and know, liking, and trusting you, and then come to you, which affects the sales process.
Right. So I am a good parrot. Russell talks about a framework of, tell the backstory, do some future casting, do a little teaching, tell a case study. Alex Charfin and Ryan Dice and a whole bunch of other incredibly smart people who have made oodles and boodles of money and served and helped an awful lot of people say every single business needs the same thing. They need a way to bring in lead generation and prospects. They need a way to then nurture those prospects and develop relationships with them. They need a way of converting those prospects to paying clients and actually having sales. Once they've sold the thing, they need a way to fulfill that thing that they sold and deliver it. And then once they've done that, you want to retain that customer and ascend them up a value ladder. When you write a book really addresses all of those things in such a subtle way that it doesn't feel like you are busy convincing someone. It feels like you're making friends with someone. So when you write a book strategically so that it's got lead magnets or links in it or QR codes that are taking them to an opt-in page so that they get on your email list so you continue nurturing them, you have no idea how far that book is going to go. I read a book and go, oh my God, you guys have to read this book. And I refer it to someone else and they read and go, oh my goodness, you need to read this book. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on and it goes out into the universe. And somebody somewhere at the right time is going to read that book, see that link and come into your world. So once you release that book into the universe, it's evergreen lead gen. And for those of us who get bored really fast, and a month from now or a year from now, we have a different offer, as long as you're a little careful with your links so that they just keep redirecting to the new thing that you're offering, that person will still come into your opt-in page and will still add to your email list, which you own, right? It's not an ad on Facebook. It's not an Amazon sale that you don't have any idea who's buying your book. Once you got that email address, you can continue to nurture that person, which is the second part, lead gen and then nurture, and they're getting to like you through their stories. And now you've got them on your email list and you can keep offering things and helping them and giving them value. The conversion time goes down. The conversion cost goes down because you're not running ads. You just did a book and it's out in the universe and it's doing its thing. Now, I, as the publisher, might continue to run ads so that books stay in the top 50 or top 100 a whole year or more after they've been published. And the Amazon algorithm loves that and keeps directing new traffic and goes, oh, if you've read $1 Million Dads, you might also like this book. Or if you've read Russell's book, Traffic Secrets, you might like $1 Million Dads. And so Amazon is starting to do that. That doesn't cost me money. It doesn't cost you money, but it's still bringing you leads. So your conversion costs go down. The time to convert goes down. Selling it, if you're creating the book the way I suggest, if this is not for the anthology, but a solo author thing, where you craft out your course and your offer. You have your ebook, you have your print book, you have your audiobook, because as you said, people learn in different formats. So they might read, they might want the quick freebie, they might want to listen to it. And then you have your high ticket offer of your mastermind or your digital course that's just delivered on auto afterwards. You have the whole entire thing. There's your delivery and your fulfillment. And now, okay, they learned this. What do they need next from you? And then you can continue the relationship. I'll be quiet now because I get really excited about this. I think books, first of all, we're humans. We're wired to share stories. We consume stories. We relate to people through stories, and we all have a lot of them. This framework of doing it in a book lets you do that very strategically, especially when you have a second set of eyes in an editing team and go, okay, I know how you heard it in your head, and then you recorded it, and then you transcribed it, and now we have words on a piece of paper we can shoot at and almost start again. But it's so much easier than starting from a blank page, which is just so overwhelming and intimidating.
Yeah.
Nobody can get past that hurdle. As soon as we've got something down on paper, yes, now we can like get out the figurative red pen and slash away and create something amazing that we all really love.
So good. Jamie, for everyone leaning in and wanting to know more about books, anthologies, and how to leverage them to be more focused on all these things we're talking about, where can they find you?
So I am on Facebook, Jamie Wolf. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. $1,000,000story.co is the website. I think that Chris is going to be kind and drop a Calendly link to speak to me about, oh, there it is, about a current project that I've got going on. We're doing a USA Today Wall Street Journal best-selling anthology. So if you've ever wanted to get to that level of brand authority and credibility, it's a little bit different than Amazon. A little bit more of an investment, but also a little bit more of a return to go that way. And when you participate in an anthology, you're sharing the investment across, a few people. So you're not having to pay for the whole entire thing or come up with all the lists and stuff yourself. So that's how you can reach me. You can just go ahead and schedule a call with me, and I would love to chat.
Yes, and you guys will have a great conversation with Jamie, because she is, number one, great to talk to. Number two, very knowledgeable about this, and in multiple different industries and markets at this point. She pumps out bestsellers. And so as a business owner, as a sales and marketing professional, when you have that bestseller tag, whether let's assume your stories are garbage. Let's just assume it. I'm not saying that. You watching this, your stories are probably way better than my stories. All I'm saying is that even if when you have that little tag, or you become an author, or you're a 2-time, 3-time, 5-time best-selling author, it just does something to the market, right? The people watching and how they perceive you, it just makes a difference, simply put. And so, hey, USA Today, that's, like as she's saying, is a lot different than Amazon. Hey, as we close here, Jamie, I always like to ask people, and we were talking about this a little bit before just jumping on, but as an entrepreneur, and I always like to say artist, musician, athlete, actor, actress, people that are creating their form of art, it's a vulnerable place. You're putting yourself out there, and you're putting the written word and books out there, and not only on your behalf, but on others. What drives you? Why take on that challenge? Why take on that risk?
I think if you ask any entrepreneur that question, once they've gone past the starving artist stage, they will say it's not about the money. When you're just getting going, it's about the money. It's about the bills. It's about the groceries. But when you move past that, it is both a combination of who you become in the process and how much you grow. So how much you're willing, you take a walk and you're hiking up a hill and you go, oh, I just want to get to the top. And as soon as you get to that top, you can see further. It's like, oh, there's another bigger hill. Let me just get to that one. And so as you continue to climb and you continue to have your views expand and your confidence that you can climb higher expand, you are effectively serving more people. You're making a bigger impact and a bigger difference. And that is why we all do what we do. I was talking to a friend just the other day. It's like, would you ever go back to a 9 to 5? There is absolutely a place for people running corporations and hiring other people and providing a place for people in the community to earn a living. But for people who are entrepreneurial minded, it's a combination of how much more can I improve my craft? A little bit of self-competition of, well, I did that okay, but I think I can do it better next time. Let me compete with myself to see, I think I could grow a little more. That growth is always a bit uncomfortable. I don't think we ever get to an easy street place because we might be there for a second. It's like that joke, mind the gap. Like as soon as we hit one accomplishment, we're just like looking forward to like, okay, what's the next thing we got to go do? And we barely pause for breath there. But ultimately, it's about if someone out there is struggling, I was struggling to find prospects to make them, become leads and convert them into people that I was working with and helping. And that's how you and I got together. You had a solution. You have increased that solution 1,000,000 times and made it so much better and so much easier to use and so much more effective, like go further faster. That's what you've done. And I think that's why I love sharing stories. We interact with people a little bit superficially and go, oh, yeah, that Chris, he's like a 2CCX winner and he's on Easy Street. And he's just good. But you get into the stories and you go, oh my goodness, there's more there. And now I really want to know you as a human. And that's what our stories, when we're sharing them in books, and books isn't the end all and be all. It is one avenue. We have many, many tools to reach people, but don't overlook the power of books because like you said, for whatever reason, and I didn't create the reason, it just is. When you have bestseller sitting next to your name, people perceive you differently. They trust you a little bit more inherently. And they're just, it is the tipping point to make the decision. Do I work with the person who doesn't have best-selling author, or do I work with the person who, took the action to accomplish the thing? If nothing else, that's what it's telling me, is that person's capable of taking action and going after getting bestseller. And they did it. So I want to work with that person.
Yeah. Powerful. Powerful. Jamie, thank you so much for spending time today with me and with our audience here.
Thank you for giving me the platform. I really, really appreciate the chance to come talk about what I love to talk about.
Well, hey, and Sales Center, fellow FlowChat fam member watching this, thank you for spending your time with us today. Go ahead and reach out to Jamie. She will point you in the right direction because she's a real person solving real problems, getting real results on the front lines, figuring what has all the pressure of like, wait, is this actually going to help the business or is it not going to help the business? How do we market it? How do we put it together and work through all that? She is paved a nice smooth road for us to glide down at this point, and I got the pleasure of going down that personally in this case. Reach out to her, have that conversation, find out when is the best time for you to do the same, and we'll be back here next week on the Spotlight series talking with more real people solving real problems. And hey, have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.